Hello everyone and welcome to my Bachelor Nation official channel. I hope everyone is having a wonderful day. Before we begin, please hit the subscribe button and give this video a thumbs up. The bright lights of the live finale had already dimmed by the time Juliana Pasquarosa took a seat in the comfort of her living room, hours after her engagement to Grant Ellis had been sealed in front of millions of viewers. What the cameras didn't catch was the complexity of the emotions swirling in Juliana's chest. Joy, excitement, and a sense of accomplishment, but also confusion. What had she truly signed up for? The post-show whirlwind was always chaotic for any contestant, but Juliana found herself dealing with something more personal, more challenging. The accusations, the whispered judgments, and the subtle insinuations about her relationship were hard to ignore. Litia, the runner-up in Grant's season, had made it clear in the finale that she was blindsided by his decision, and her reaction struck a chord with Juliana in ways she hadn't expected. Juliana had thought that they were on good terms. Despite the competition, she had made a genuine effort to check in with Litia. She had assumed that after the cameras stopped rolling, they would all go their separate ways, but at least with mutual respect. But Litia's actions had taken a sharp turn. In the days following the finale, the passive-aggressive comments and the dismissive remarks started to add up. Juliana had been caught off guard. "I think my feelings were the most hurt by Litia," Juliana confessed during her interview on the Viall Files. "I didn't think that was something I'd have to experience, especially not from someone I considered a friend, even if a temporary one. We shared so much, and I honestly tried to be there for her." Litia had indeed hurt Juliana more than she realized. It wasn't just the public breakup that had stung, though, admittedly, being rejected in such a public forum had been difficult for Litia, and Juliana could empathize with that. What really cut deep was how Litia used the breakup as an opportunity to make personal jabs at Juliana. When Litia had turned to the camera during the live finale, her words were sharp, venomous even. She had insinuated that Grant had been confused throughout the process, implying that Juliana had somehow been complicit in leading him on. It felt like Litia wasn't just confronting Grant, but aiming her anger at Juliana as well. "You've probably got a lot of questions for him," Litia had said in a tone that was just short of mocking. "After all, he acted as though he was in love with me and wanted to get engaged, only to flip it at the last second." Grant had been caught in a whirlwind of his own making that evening. His heart was torn as emotions conflicted between the two women who had become so close to him during the course of the season. As the final rose ceremony approached, he was under immense pressure from the producers, who pushed him to make a decision. And he did. He proposed to Juliana, but not without hesitation. Despite his engagement to her, his confusion lingered, and Juliana understood that. She saw Grant's emotional roller coaster for what it was, human. Still, the aftermath of his decision was far more complicated than either of them had expected. The after-show was where the tension had reached its boiling point. Juliana had been left with the impression that she and Litia were on relatively good terms, or at least cordial. They had even shared a few private conversations after filming, during which Juliana had checked in on Litia to see how she was handling the fallout. Litia had been kind in those moments, showing glimpses of vulnerability. Juliana had expected that level of care to continue after the finale aired. But instead, the reality was far different. "I thought there was a good relationship," Juliana reflected on the Viall Files. "But it seems like since AFR after the final rose, the actions haven't been the kindest. That really took me by surprise." The comments Litia had made during the aftershow were just the beginning. When it became clear that the other women on the season were taking sides, Juliana felt more alienated than ever. The women who had once shared a bond with her were now supporting Litia openly, publicly declaring their allegiance to her. It wasn't about friendship anymore. It had turned into a war zone, with Juliana finding herself caught in the crossfire. I didn't know sides were being taken like that, Juliana had admitted, her voice tinged with disbelief. I reached out to a few of the girls who were coming to the live filming, and I was told they were coming in support of Litia. I didn't even know how to respond to that. I thought we were all just come to realize was that this wasn't just a reality show. It was an emotional battlefield, and every contestant was out to win, not just the final rose, but also the favor of the public, the producers, and perhaps more importantly, their own sense of validation. The Bachelor experience was the pressure cooker, and what had initially seemed like a supportive group of women had fractured into two clear camps: those who sided with Litia and those who supported Juliana. I tried to phrase it in a way like, the more the merrier, Juliana recalled with a chuckle, attempting to mask the sting of the situation. But that's when I kind of realized the reality of it all. Nick Viall, the host of the Viall Files, had asked Juliana whether she thought Litia's actions were mean girlish. Juliana didn't hesitate to agree. Definitely, she said with a sigh. It wasn't just the jabs at Grant. It was the way she would throw me under the bus, as if everything that happened was somehow my fault. It wasn't fair. We were all in this together. But to see her twist the narrative like that, it's hurtful. As much as Juliana tried to maintain her composure and her optimism, the ongoing tension left her feeling isolated. Even though she and Grant had gotten engaged, it was clear that their journey together was only beginning, and it would not be without its challenges. There would be obstacles ahead, both in their relationship and in the public eye. Juliana had spent years building a life for herself before appearing on The Bachelor. She wasn't naive. She knew that the show had the power to alter people's perceptions and turn relationships into fodder for tabloid gossip. But the personal attacks, the constant digs, and the betrayals from people she had considered her peers were harder to swallow than anything she had imagined. I want Litia to feel supported, Juliana expressed, her tone softer this time. I'm not saying that she shouldn't be able to have a support system. I can't imagine how painful it must be to get so close to the final rose, to have your heart broken in such a public way. I'm not trying to take that away from her. However, Juliana's willingness to extend grace didn't mean she was willing to tolerate disrespect. But at the end of the day, I had relationships with a lot of the girls, and at no point were they making digs at Grant or our relationship, she explained. Thanks for watching. If you likes this video, do not forget to subscribe my channel and do not miss any update.